Good morning, Hand in Hand family. We are doing our second of two interviews with our instructors today. My name is Nolani Pearl Hunt, and I'm the interim CEO of Hand in Hand Parenting. I am so lucky to be surrounded by amazing instructors that we have here with the Hand in Hand family. And today is a special treat because we have Abigail Wald, who is not only a certified instructor with Hand in Hand, but she is the co-host of our Hand in Hand podcast. So let's bring her on. I'm so excited. Hi, Abigail.
Hello. How are you? Very excited to be here with you guys.
We are very excited too. So I'll just start off with parenting happens. So we were just a little delayed this morning for both on both sides with Abigail and with me. It's just, we plan for the best case scenario, but we also plan for, the crazy scenario.
There you go.
So, parenting happens. So I want to let everyone know that if it seems like I'm not paying attention to Abigail, it's not that I'm not. It's that I'm paying attention to all the comments and likes down below in case someone has a question or a comment that we want to bring up during our Facebook Live. So why don't we get started? Abigail, why don't you tell us how you found Hand in Hand and why you were looking for us? Or looking for someone like us. How about that?
I was looking for just you guys. No, I was looking for anybody to help. Way back then, I had two new kiddos. So my boys were maybe 2.5 and 1. Yeah, 2.5 and 1. And I had already shockingly tried a lot of things at that point. It was very funny. I had a mama recently who wrote to me, and she was writing in saying that she had her second kid and her first kid was so easy, and she never knew parenting could be so hard until she had her second kid. And I wrote back and I was like, well, that's funny because when I had my second, I never knew parenting could be so easy. It had been so hard the first time. So right out of the gate, stuff was challenging for us. We had also a lot of medical stuff. So my older son was born needing open heart surgery. It's interesting. It started right there. Obviously we needed a ton of emotional support to go through that, but it hadn't occurred to me how much emotional support my infant baby would need. Nobody talked about that. It was all just about what his body would need, right? But nobody sort of talked about what that meant for us. It took me a while to realize this wasn't just my story, my husband's story. This was the baby's story too, emotionally. And I know that might sound weird, but it kind of took a moment. And so I didn't realize quite what that had done to our family. And then we went through a lot of other things during that time period. And ultimately, what was really incredible was I was spiraling down as a mom. And I think this can happen. We had some big stuff going on, but this can happen without that. I think just being a new mother, sometimes it happens later in motherhood. You've had one experience and all of a sudden there's a different experience that starts to happen, right? But I think that there can be this kind of crisis where all of a sudden who you were is not who you are anymore. All these feelings from your own childhood can resurface. Sometimes that comes up later in later years as you parent. And suddenly you're dealing with having to be somebody's everything and you're not quite sure how to do all that. And so it was a lot. There was just a lot going on, and it didn't feel just easy and happy and toting around a little sleeping baby in a carrier like it looked like it felt for some people. Right. I've since learned that for those people too, sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Although there are some people who have easy experiences in the beginning, and I think we all have our own story to tell. And so for me, there was a lot, and then there was the grief of that. Why is there a lot? Right? There were so many layers of grief and joy, and it was such a confusing time. And then I had my younger son, which was thankfully a really easy birth and easy pregnancy. And he was a very easy child. And then he had medical difficulties. And, our whole family was just in this like maelstrom. And at some point, even before his stuff kicked in, there was a lot of sibling rivalry. And it funnily enough, so with all of this stuff going on, there was this sibling rivalry that like brought me to my knees. So just know that sibling rivalry is harder than open heart surgery. No, not really. But that was the one that really, really brought me to my knees. I think it was because it was so normal. I'm saying this now and I'm sort of realizing, I think it was because it was so normal that like, I felt like, well, I can handle all the crises, but like the normal stuff better be okay. Like that, you know what I mean? Like that I couldn't even handle the normal stuff, like somehow broke me. I think that's really what it was. And so, ultimately what happened was I reached out to a lot of different things. I took a mommy class that really didn't work for me. And my husband used to joke that I would go and he would literally make fun of me. He's like, "Are you ready to go to the Mad Mommy class now?" Like, I would go and I'd get so mad. Just because it never worked. And it all sounded so lovely, but it never worked. And it made me feel like, oh, everything, my children are just broken. I'm broken. We're all wrong. And somehow this one day, this is not a joke. This is true. Absolute. I mean, everything I say is always true to a fault. But I was sitting there on the sofa, tears streaming down my face, my older, 2.5-year-old, taking my 1-year-old down to the floor for like the 30th time that day, never listening to me, constant power struggles, screaming. I was afraid beyond belief. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to go see a psychiatrist for like maybe him, me. And I really was filling out a $900 intake form for a psychiatrist's evaluation for my 2.5-year-old. And it like really pains me to say that, but it's honest. And I had gotten to a place where I was so convinced maybe there was something wrong with him. Some oxygen had been deprived during the surgery, God forbid. Like I didn't know what had gone on. And I know that sounds really intense, but that's really where I was. And I had no hope anymore. I just thought, okay, this is what we're going to do. And no part of me wanted to go that route. Like I was 100% not wanting to do that. Right. But I couldn't see any other options anymore. And so here I was, tears streaming down my face, filling out this intake form, watching my children just like hurting each other. So sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Watching my kids, life happens, parenting happens, phones happen. Yeah. Watching my kids, hurt each other on the rug in front of me. And I had this little like sound that went off in my head that was somebody had mentioned hand-in-hand parenting. And I was like, I should check that thing out. I haven't done anything. And I was like, yeah, that and a lullaby will get my kids to sleep because my kids never. That's literally the sentence that was in my head. That and a lullaby will get my kids to sleep. And I thought, yeah, nice. And I kept filling out the intake form. And the little voice, it was like this little angel, said to me again, like, no, really, you should check out that hand. And I was like, fine. And I picked up the phone and I called and like somebody answered the phone. And I still don't know how that happened. And I was like, hello? And it was like a cartoon of like me in my parenting hell moment, like reaching out this little line to somebody on a cloud that said, hi, are you real? And we talked, and it was the first moment I'll never forget. He said to me, it was Paul, and he said to me, and I was thinking all the time, I was like, you're a guy? Like, and he said to me, he said, I believe in you. You're a good mom. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm telling you, I'm failing here. And he helped me find my inner strength. And then he suggested I learn these tools. And then I called Michelle Pate. And I've set up a consultation. And Michelle, bless her heart, was like, well, do you want to do half an hour or 1 hour? And I was like, no, I think I need like an hour every day. And we started with 1 hour, and it changed my life. And immediately I saw these tools begin to work. They just worked. Like they worked. They weren't ideas. They were things that worked. And I knew what to do. Like I knew what to do. I wasn't just like, I don't know anymore. Like, why is this happening? Poor me. Like all of that story just stopped. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to try that thing. And it was like, and I have a team of people. I'm not alone. Like I've got people who have an idea of how to do this, and I can call them and I can work with them. And like all of a sudden everything changed, and it was like on a dime. It's crazy. And I started trying this stuff, and the meltdowns just like kind of over a couple of months weren't even there anymore. And these really physical meltdowns that had been happening, like we had like this like kind of like paper screen door thing that we had at the time that my son would kick out every day. Like I literally just kept the screwdriver there. I was like, oh, gotta take the door apart again. And like, we were like able to sort of move through and have such a different life. And they became really good friends. And I started to see my son's gentler side. And then, they are the best of friends. Like people are always asking, are they twins? They're such great friends. Like it's like people's first comment all the time. I have to say none of this, like, I'm really convinced none of this would have happened without Hand in Hand.
Mm-hmm.
I was not headed in a great direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's no joke to say Hand in Hand truly gave me the life that I wanted to have for my family. Yeah. So it's really hard to even think about what might have happened if I hadn't have found you guys. I have such intense gratitude. So yeah, it was like a fork in a road. It's like, I don't know. It feels like missing a plane that went down. You know what I mean? Like it just all could have looked so different. And then it's great. Like I love my family. It's still chaos sometimes, and it's still crazy. And there's still moments where, I have to go, wait a minute, I got to put my thinking cap on. Mm-hmm. I need to use my tools. I need to figure this out. And over the years, I've built, for me, I really worked the tools for 3 or 4 years. And then I started just sharing these tools with people, like just because I felt like I'd gotten out of a burning building and I couldn't like leave other people in this burning building. Like I had to go back and be like, hey, listen, there's ladders, there's ropes, there's sprinklers. Like, and so I went and I started just sharing this with people. And then I like contacted Patty and I was like, I think this is what I need to do with my life. Like, this is crazy. and then that was it. And I started, my certification program. And then I had actually in my sort of other life before that, I had been a voiceover artist for 20 years. And so at some point, Julie and I were talking and I was like, I'm starting a podcast about parenting. And she was like, we're starting a podcast about parenting, but we don't have a host. And I was like, well, I could be the host. And that was kind of how that happened. And so I decided not to start my own, but to start Hand in Hands, and with Elle Kwan, the amazing and incredible Elle Kwan, whom I adore and have never met. And we have so much fun together. It's ridiculous. It's fabulous. My kids are thriving, thank God. It's helped my marriage. It's been what I do. Like Hand in Hand is my life. Like literally, it's just become my life. And I couldn't be happier. I love every bit of that. And over the years, I've brought in some other things too. We could talk more about that in a moment, about sort of how I use it now. But yeah, it's just everything to me. So
we are so thankful you made that call, and we're all about hashtag Daddy Positive. Paul, our director of operations, is a fantastic parent, and We are so lucky to have him on our staff too. And we, hand in hand, thanks to you, Abigail, for your relentless drive in regards to the podcast and getting us out there. And I'm looking forward to hopefully being on your show soon so we can talk about Hand in Hand and the excitingness about all the things that we're doing in 2019. We have been, really fortunate. Our podcast has done been so great with you and Elle on it, and really brought a lot of people into Hand in Hand who might not have even known about it. I think that when it comes to parenting, it's kind of that taboo subject of everything's fine, everything's okay. And, I'm really lucky. I have my 23-year-old daughter, and then I have 3 bonus children, 16 and 9-year-old daughters, and then a 7-year-old son. And for me, it was, I got this. I've done this for 23 years when for 5 years, my daughter never said, I love you to you. And then Hand in Hand comes along, and all of a sudden we're in a totally different space. Nothing's perfect is what I always say. And parenting happens. So, your story is absolutely amazing. And I know thousands upon thousands of people have had the same struggles, and people just need to know that we're there for them. So as a part of that, Abigail, you have a plethora of things that you're doing as one of our certified instructors. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I work with parents individually when they want to do consultations. So I work with parents just like you guys who are wondering, and sometimes it's people who are really struggling. And sometimes it's people who just have new toddlers with emerging will, or teenagers that suddenly they're like, wait a minute, all that parenting that was working is not working now, right? Because teenagers and tweens, that's a whole other world. And my kids are now tweens full on. And so I love to work with that age population as well. But I also work with couples, not as couples, but for parenting, right? So I will often do that. I run groups online, and now I created something called the 30-Day Family Reset, which teaches all of the Hand in Hand tools, and also teaches some of the other work. So my thing these days is I'm really interested in biohacking parenting. Mm-hmm. I love the idea of taking what we know about the science of biology and our brain work. And I love work also with Dr. Michael Gurian, and I love teaching his brain-based gender work. And so I don't bring the Gurian work into the reset that I do personally with people, because I actually created the reset before that. But I do bring other brain work in, and I'm also really obsessed. My whole life I've been obsessed with habits and optimization. Having nothing to do with parenting. I've just always been really obsessed with that. Mm-hmm. And so I love the work of James Clear, who is not even a parenting expert, but he's just a great guy on habits and self-optimization. And I think one of our jobs as a parent is to optimize our kids, right? Mm-hmm. Optimize all of our experiences. And so I love to bring in that work. And so I bring in a lot of different things into the reset, but the 5 hand-in-hand tools are the backbone of that course. And so parents are welcome to do that with me online. And that's very exciting. And you can find that at realtimeparenting.com/p/reset. And what else? And then, of course, there's the podcast is a huge part of my life. And I love that. And if you guys have not checked out the podcast yet, oh my gosh, the love letters that we get and people saying that the podcast has been incredible. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast all the time, I hope that you guys also take those extra few steps, because the podcast is amazing and it will give you so much. But to really get this work going into your lives, I want you to know that when you start really doing the work to get it in your life personally, there's something different that happens. So if the podcast has up-leveled you and you're ready to go deeper and get this work going in your families faster and easier and deeper, then do know that working with me or any other instructor that we have incredible instructors at Hand in Hand. We have over 100 of them. Okay. So that kind of work, it's really special. So those are the things that I do. Yeah. And I'm speaking a lot this year. My goal is to hit 50 stages, you guys. So yes, so for any of you who would like to invite me to your women's group or your dad's group or a teen group, tween group, into your school, into your home to gather a bunch of parents together, my goal is to go out there and speak and get this message moving forward. So that is really my huge goal for 2019. So please do invite me. You can reach me all the time. You can email me to abigail@realtimeparenting.com, or just check out my site and contact me through there. So thank you.
That's awesome, Abigail. Thank you so much for being such a great advocate and an ambassador for Hand in Hand. Abigail's right. Not only can you work with her, there's 100 other instructors that you can work with. We have our starter classes that are coming up. And once you're ready to take that deeper dive, especially after, listening to the podcast, it's really helpful to take a starter class, or even if you're still a little bit gun shy, we have our parenting club that's here on Facebook that you can join. And it's a huge group of parents that are just like you. They have struggles, they have successes that will help you through all of those things, whether it's venting or figuring out a tool. We have two great moderators, Kathy Gordon and Emily Murray, who are on there all the time helping parents out. So that is a huge, huge way to kind of get your feet wet along with the podcast, and then take that starter class and to work with our instructors like Abigail. Abigail, thank you so much for taking the time today and sitting with me and sharing your amazing story. We are so lucky to have you. And if I could just take a moment, Hand in Hand is a nonprofit, and because of people like Abigail who donate their time to do things like the podcast, and instructors all over the world, we're able to spread the word out here. But as most nonprofits, we do have to raise funds, and we have a $60,000 match that's going on right now, and we're just under $9,000 away from being able to secure that $60,000 match. So if any of you out there, whatever you can give, it would be beneficial for us to be able to reach that goal. So thank you so much, Abigail, and for all of you. We're going to continue this series and have other instructors come out and be a part of our Facebook Lives. But in the meantime, don't forget to listen to Abigail and Elle's podcast weekly, and you can find that on our Hand in Hand website.
Awesome. Bye, guys. And you can do this. You can do this. Seriously.
For parents.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Abigail.